Welcome to Good for Bitcoin, a weekly show recorded live every Friday, where we recap the top events of the week and talk about everything that is good for Bitcoin. If it's built on Bitcoin, then it's good for Bitcoin. Let's get started.
Content shared on this podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It does not constitute financial, investment, or legal advice. The views and opinions expressed are those of the host and guests and do not reflect the official policy or position of any other agency, organization, or company. We encourage you to conduct your own research and consult with a qualified professional before making any financial decisions.
This is Good for Bitcoin. This is our weekly show where every Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern, we recap all the best news events that have happened throughout the week, talk about if it's been good for Bitcoin, if it's been a struggle, a challenge, but overall, if it's built on Bitcoin, we think it's good for Bitcoin. So I'm Kate. I'll be your host today. I am the community lead at Leather Wallet. Brandon and Sean are unfortunately not going to be able to make the show today, but they'll be back next week. But in better news, we have some special guests today. We have Jason, who's our head of communications at Trust Machines, and we also have our chief of staff, Gina. So thank you both so much for joining me today. I'm honestly so happy. Yeah, you guys are going to bring a great perspective. It's always good to hear new voices up here.
Thanks for having us.
Kate. Thanks for having us. And it's great to see familiar faces here. What's up, Mr. Watt? We're all going to make it.
Love it. All right. So before we get into the show, Jason, I'm going to throw it to you. I would love to hear any amazing product updates that's been going on in Trust Machines.
Yeah, absolutely. On the product side, we're full steam ahead, which is so exciting right now. Leather, obviously our Bitcoin and Stacks wallet, is super heads down, making sure that mobile not only exists for users, but is one of the best web wallet experiences on the go across chain. So not just the best Bitcoin wallet, but the best experience overall, which is so exciting. I know it takes a while, but for us, like being able to see things that you're teasing out, Kate, and Brandon's teasing out is so cool. More is going to come for the community. So if you're interested in that and you're listening here, make sure to go follow Leather BTC because there's a bunch of stuff that's being snuck out by Kate and Brandon there. But on the digital identity front, I want to mention that .locker, our first domain, is officially in early access, which just means you can purchase your .locker name, albeit at a premium price right now, but next week we'll be starting the general availability. So registrars like GoDaddy.com are offering pre-sales for anybody who wants to be kind of the first in line to get their .locker domain. So watch out for that, take a look at that, see if the domains you want are available, and scoop those up.
I love it. Gina, is there anything that you wanted to touch on before we get into the space? If not, there's lots of time to come, so no stress.
Yeah, I think the thing that is definitely top of mind for our products, probably for folks who are listening in here, so excited that the Nakamoto launch block has dropped, and it's got to be block 867867. So satisfying that we have that combination of numbers, and that it's going to happen before the end of the month. I am super stoked. I feel like we've all been kind of waiting for this magical moment for Stacks, and it's really going to translate for amazing experiences within our products at Trust Machines. So I would be remiss if we didn't kind of open with that. I'm so excited, and it's been a ton of hard work from the core developers, but I also feel like, from this community, it's been such a team effort to kind of get to this place. We have a lot of momentum, and I think a lot of exciting things just coming up after it. And I feel like it's a group effort. So super excited about that.
Yeah, I love it. It's definitely a group effort. There's a lot going on internally. And obviously, I spend a lot of my time on Twitter, and there's so much excitement and buzz going on. So I love it. Before we get into some of the fun stories of today, I kind of just wanted to shout out to some of our partners. Hermetica Finance, they just raised a $1.7 million seed round, and they secured funding from Trust Machines, as well as an angel investment from our COO, Rena. So I love to see it. We're obviously very bullish on Bitcoin, but we're very bullish on builders as well. So that was exciting to see. And then yesterday on the Leather Lounge, which was our weekly space, Thursday at 3 p.m., we touched base with our friends from Screen. So this is an NFT project. It's built on the Stacks blockchain. It's a unique collection of 5,000 unique pieces, and it's very focused on this like dystopian digital universe They have different characters that play into this reality. So it's a very like dark, glitchy kind of aesthetic, but it was a really fun conversation of how it got developed, was the artist, listened to Faye Z, who has had some prominence in the Megapon community and other Stacks projects is involved. And then Mike, or Lightweights as he's known on Twitter, is also involved, and he's played a key role in the Megapunks release and currently the CTO of Super Duper and just lots of valuable tech expertise. So really fun conversation on the Leather Lounge, and it feeds very well into sort of the Halloween narrative coming up. And they're going to be launching their collection post Nakamoto, which is pretty fun. And that really leads us into first topic of today, which is 867. So obviously we're all very excited about this. This is the new Stacks block for Nakamoto, which is scheduled to take place on October 29th. Obviously, we have some like pretty good connections at Trust Machines and Stacks. Manib is our CEO at Trust Machines, also the co-founder at Stacks. And so he was kind of like hyping this up internally. You know, he's very active on Twitter, but I thought I would share some words that he shared with us internally. So he said he's been working with Stacks core devs to sort out a path to the launch of Nakamoto. They've made a lot of great progress in it in the last 2 days and pushed everyone to pick a firm block, focus on the most essential things that need to happen between now and launch. Having Nakamoto and then SPTC Live is the biggest step to launch and growth of their apps. He's really excited to make progress towards it with the core devs. It's Nakamoto time soon, and we need to double down on the speed and velocity with which we build things on top. So pretty exciting. Is there any initial reactions that you guys have, Jason or Gina, to this?
Yeah, I can jump in first. Gina, I welcome you to interrupt me. But for me, it's exciting. I mean, we've been watching this progression now for a while, and a lot of our products can really unlock and be unleashed as soon as Nakamoto launches, SBTC goes live. So for us, there's a lot right around the corner once this stuff goes through this year. So looking for a big year next year, which is really exciting for us. Speaking as a marketer, like we love when products are able to go live. We love when products can be updated, when new features can come out, when new partnerships can happen. And we're really bullish on the Stacks Nakamoto being a big unlock for not only leather, but for all of our products.
Totally. I would just say, we've been working on some things, as we work toward this launch in terms of products at Trust Machines. And I feel like there's a whole opportunity for like DeFi use cases and utility to really come to life, not only with Nakamoto, but then also SBTC, which will, fast follow that launch. And I feel like this is kind of, the moment that like a Bitcoin layer 2 is going to be entirely full featured in terms of all the capabilities, fast speeds, 100%, Bitcoin finality, and then also really unlocking that Bitcoin liquidity. And so I feel like it's, huge, not only for us at Trust Machines, but also just this entire community of builders. I feel like that's, SBTC in particular is the thing that everyone's really looking for. And it's also, I think within the Bitcoin ecosystem, DeFi is such a natural use case and something where people have capital, latent capital that they're wanting to really put to more productive use cases. So, we obviously have applications that are in development. And then I think, we're also considering what are the things that people are going to be asking for next. How can we make sure that we're going after the largest market and creating, the most opportunity for folks. So it's exciting just across the board. And yeah, I feel like it's great timing also with the Bitcoin white paper date. There's great alignment. I hope that there's going to be a lot of orange that week. So it's going to be amazing.
I know. I think Twitter's going to be completely orange. Like it's just going to be filled with orange. It's going to be Stacks excitement, Bitcoin white paper, Halloween. Like it couldn't be more orange. I love it. All right, so let's get into one of our first stories. It's kind of a wild, weird one. It's the story of Goatse. So this is kind of like the collaboration of AI, memes, crypto, all thrown together. And here's what happened. So it follows an AI agent called Truth Terminal. So Truth Terminal is basically this autonomous software program. It can make decisions and take actions without any human intervention. And it started interacting with Mark Andreessen from A16Z Crypto. And basically, Mark gave this AI agent $50,000 in Bitcoin and basically released it into the digital wild to do as it pleased. It started this project called Infinite Backrooms, where it's basically two AIs were chatting. They invented this meme called the Goatse of Gnosis, which is inspired by this really shocking image of early internet culture. And it became obsessed with this meme and just started sharing it across Twitter, Discord, and eventually it created this meme coin that went viral called GOAT. I think it is now has like hit a $350 million market cap from the original $50,000 investment, which is pretty crazy. And yeah, Andreessen said it was given as a grant to support sort of independent AI research, and he was very excited with the results, but he said he has nothing to do with the meme coin. He was not involved in creating it. He played no role in the economics and does not own any of it. So obviously there's some like concerns of how AI interacts with each other and can spread these like crazy ideas. And I mean, you could look at it positively. This meme was a little bit weird, but you could also look at it as like maybe there's a really good use case to spread some like kindness and empathy and good stuff like that. But regardless, it was just a fascinating experiment that took the crypto AI world by storm.
We've been talking a lot lately at all these different events and stuff how AI and Bitcoin, AI and crypto, anything on chain can like play together. I was not expecting this to be the answer to all those questions at these events recently. So this was a really interesting story to see. But I think it welcomes a broader conversation, at least for me, thinking about marketing and this industry. Like I've been doing crypto marketing for a decade now, and it's evolved so much. But one of the constants is things like meme coins, things like NFTs. They come back as a really simple way to have these conversations with people, right? And so we wouldn't be talking about what's going on with Goetze of Genosis, I think you said it was called, if it wasn't for the meme coin. And that allows us to educate people, to bring them into the deeper use cases and stuff like that. I remember when Chainlink really became this big company after all this Ethereum like NFTs and Ethereum ICO swelled, people started digging into deeper culture and found projects like Chainlink and others that really blossomed. And so I'm excited for stuff like this because it gives us a new opportunity to educate people. But what a wild thing to see occur. It's wild.
Yeah, it's one of those things that just like make you love being on crypto Twitter. Gina, have you heard of this story? Is this the first time you're hearing about it?
I had kind of heard about it, but this is the first time I'm really doing some research into it, and it is pretty crazy. Yeah, I think that memes are incredibly powerful. I think meme coins, are powerful. I feel like it's just about, and this is not financial advice. I'm not knowledgeable necessarily about meme coins at all, but I feel like it's really about people being able to kind of collectively get behind something and experiment and almost like play in blockchain playground that hasn't really existed before. So in that regard, it's kind of cool. Um, I think, you know, I just don't want us to take these things too seriously. I feel like it's fine. Like money is made in so many different ways. And I think that that's definitely also something that I've learned throughout my crypto journey. But, I just take it for maybe face value. I hate that crypto kind of gets branded by some of these experiments while they are fun. There's two different sides to it. So it is definitely fascinating. And I'm glad that you dived deeper into it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it kind of segues into our next story, which this is like the biggest non-financial advice disclaimer heading into this one. So this one is about the meme coin super cycle. So if you live on crypto Twitter, this probably seems like one of the main narratives that you're hearing about a lot. It's sort of like this large wave of speculation that meme coins are going to blow up in 2025 and that early investors in these meme coin projects are going to have massive gains. So meme coins themselves, like they're not new. They've been around for a while and we've seen Pepe and Doge. Those are great examples. But the narrative for this super cycle it seems like it started from a presentation that was given at Token 2049 by a guy named Murad. He's a Bitcoiner. He was a self-proclaimed Bitcoin maxi, and he really believes that meme coins are going to evolve from being these online jokes into like legitimate investment assets that have almost like cult-like followings and are capable of outperforming traditional altcoins based on how much community support is around them. So it really combines this love for memes, the power of memetics, and really just this feeling that you want to connect with like-minded people. So the way I think about it is like if you meet another Bitcoiner, you automatically know that you're going to have a lot of things in common with them. And it kind of creates this like camaraderie without needing to say a lot. People who have been investing in crypto have also realized that a lot of tokens that were marketed to them that provided a lot of utility or different solutions didn't really have a lot of value. And really, their value came from a promise of gains or, yeah, like speculation in the price. And where a lot of the utility ended up coming from was the meme factor. And so this idea of meme coins is kind of catering to people's need for belonging, being a part of community, being entertained. And I mean, like if you look at some of the top performing tokens of 2024, 13 out of 20 have been meme coins. So it kind of is like reinforcing this idea. Obviously, there's criticism of this saying success of meme coins really lie in hype and how it's marketed. And if you're going into an investment with this kind of mentality, just be ready for volatility and like rapid liquidation. So it's a really interesting concept. I'm for sure going to be following along with it. Even next week on the Leather Lounge, we are going to have some guests and we're going to be kind of diving into meme coins and the differences between meme coins maybe on Bitcoin versus other ecosystems and if that matters at all. But regardless, I just think it's going to bring in this whole new subset of people to crypto and Bitcoin. And it'll be really interesting to see like how some of these coins evolve if they take it into the physical world and build brands or companies. But regardless, it's going to be a wild a wild ride in meme land.
I'm not one for meme coins. I got burned on Constitution DAO way back when. But what I will say, not financial advice, but if you're into meme coins, Leather supports, stacks as a their wallet provider, and you can hold them there. Meme coins, kind of like Gina was saying, are so interesting to me because there's so much more here. And yeah, great if they bring in value where they're bringing in people who want to learn more, kind of like the penny stocks of the 90s, bringing in people to bigger stocks and the stock market, then great. I always fear every time we have these meme coin cycles or these kind of like trends like the trend bubbles popping, is can we do a better job at capturing people and showing them the usability and the use case? Uh, Boring or not, like the back end of blockchain is really exciting. It's totally something that's going to revolutionize the world. And once you learn about it, it's a lot more important than meme coins. So I think that's a challenge for people like us at Trust Machines, where we're constantly thinking like, how do we balance taking advantage of moments where we're riding these cycles as an educator, and how do we convert people into deeper Bitcoin love, Bitcoin adoption, and so forth?
Yeah, totally. I think that's a great point. And it's kind of like at what point is something that is being built by a meme coin, like at what point is it real? At what point is it worth like integrating and putting time into? I think we as an industry are going to have to kind of figure that out because like for sure, like these projects, things that actually happen materialize from it, but it's a bit more of a gamble, I think, than something else. And I feel like it kind of I wouldn't really know how to phrase it to like say some of my friends who are not in Web3 other than kind of like, okay, if you want to maybe have a small gamble in this, if you're having fun, but like it's, where is that line where there's kind of like fun, but then it also becomes something that's like potentially very large and people like don't know exactly how to interact with it. I think it's just a little bit of the Wild West still, and it's gone through these various cycles. I think that we've seen throughout crypto. So I think it's just another type of cycle that we're seeing. But I do think that there's potential, like where I feel like it could become cool is where, say creators wanted to get, maybe they feel like it's potentially more accessible to create a token or to connect with their audience. I think that's something that I've always like wanted to see artists do, see people who are generating content on Patreon be able to, connect to folks. And I feel like if there's a path toward more utility, that'll be very cool to see. But it's early stages, and we're still kind of going through the various cycles. But yeah, I mean, the more the merrier.
So true. I mean, I think that any type of project that is promising wealth and gains is always one to look out for. So, yeah, again, next week on Leather Lounge, we're going to dive into this concept a little bit more with some people who are like really into meme coins, specifically on Bitcoin. So, I think that that will be a pretty fun episode, and we'll get some various opinions from there. So, definitely check that one out. For our next story, it involves Mempool Space. So, one thing I love about Bitcoiners is that they're always going to have an opinion, and sometimes they definitely clash. But I think that's good, and this story kind of shows like the sort of various opinions that occur in the Bitcoin world. So, over last weekend, I believe, Mempool Space, which is a very widely used Bitcoin blockchain explorer, which is basically takes Bitcoin data and turned it into a visualization tool. So it's very useful to see how the Bitcoin blockchain works. It's an open source project. We support it here at Leather. We love it. But basically, they introduced a feature that makes it easier for users to see if there's a transaction that involves an ordinals or runes in it. Obviously, people who are involved in these communities love the feature, quickly adopted it, extremely useful. The controversy comes in because there's kind of this ideology of some Bitcoiners that any type of transactions that stray away from Bitcoin's original intended use case, like in the white paper, shouldn't be included on the blockchain. And they kind of thought that this was Mempool's way of showing their endorsement for these protocols. Obviously, there's another group of people who use Bitcoin for a variety of reasons, like ourselves included. We adopt this mentality. But the Ordinals community basically came in and showed a lot of love to the Mempool Space project. They started donating funds to it since it is an open source project. And I think that over the last week, they raised, I think, over 1 Bitcoin worth of funds to support. So, yeah, it was definitely a heated debate on Twitter. Mempool Space clarified that they are neutral, like they're a neutral tool. They don't endorse specific protocols. They're simply displaying data from the Bitcoin blockchain without bias. And they're just trying to make it more accessible. And they're not promoting anything by doing this, just showing new information. So, yeah, as I said here at Leather, like we've supported them for a while. And I know that we have some folks internally from the team who also donated to the cause. But I just wanted to shout out Mempool for, creating this amazing tool that allows us to really visualize how Bitcoin actually works and be able to dive into that data more and explore it. I'll also share a tweet here. Brandon shared this really great overview of some of the stats that ordinals and runes have contributed to Bitcoin. And I think it's just really amazing to see, how Bitcoin can be used beyond just peer-to-peer money transfers.
I'm all for the more tooling, the better, the more visibility, the better. Like this experimentation is happening, and let's just broaden the audience of who's able to kind of understand and dive deeper into it. I, yeah, I've never really understood where this kind of invisible line is ever drawn for Bitcoiners, where it's like innovation can only happen up to X point. Bitcoin is the last experimentation that can happen. Like that just makes absolutely no sense, especially having this very kind of capitalist mentality. It just, there's a dissonance there for me. So I mean, obviously at Trust Machines, we're all about experimentation, building on Bitcoin. and feel like it's ultimately going to drive more value back to Bitcoin. So yeah, it's cool to see. And it's unfortunate that these things are pretty controversial and it can end up really hurting builders, people who are trying to provide value and utility. But obviously, I think that the industry has matured to the point where we have this experimentation, we have this need for tooling. So that's really cool to see.
Pressure just creates diamonds. So for me, it just means that ordinals and runes have a big upside coming up when it comes to adoption and like usability for people. Trust Machines, Gina and I can talk about this for days and days, but we were talking about L2s before anybody wanted to talk about L2s in the Bitcoin space. And so we were speaking about something that for most people in the ecosystem, it really didn't exist. And then eventually everybody caught up and was talking about the same thing and powered forward. So when I see things like this where someone like a good actor like Mempool Space gets undue, like criticism like this from certain communities, it's great to see everybody picking up and just like supporting them and rallying behind them. I know Brandon did personally as well, and so love that. There's such a good actor in this community.
Absolutely. And I think, once we start unlocking like how we can use Bitcoin, it'll just speak for itself. So, yeah, just wanted to dive into the tea on that one. The last thing I just wanted to there was a few stories that came up recently, so I just wanted to touch on them that I thought were pretty cool. Venmo is now allowing its 60 million US users to buy Bitcoin and crypto directly through their platform using MoonPay. So any kind of on-ramps we have like this are obviously a good signal for Bitcoin. Bitcoin price is sitting up at 68,000 and it's really following this Uptober narrative, which is where Bitcoin has historically rallied for 3 months following a downtrend in September. And the last one is the A16Z State of Crypto report. So we were definitely talking about this internally. There's some really cool findings in there. I will share the report, pin the tweet here. But Gina and Jason, is there anything in there that you thought was particularly interesting that you wanted to chat about?
I mean, there's almost 60 billion in institutional exposure to the Bitcoin ETF within a year. That's just a huge sign for me of support. And now Bitcoin needs to do something. So those institutions want to keep investing and get exposure to us. So that was such a huge thing that came out of this report. I don't know the stat off the top of my head, Kate, maybe you or Gina knows, but it was something like 4% of all companies are building on Bitcoin right now. What an opportunity to be a first mover in this space.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. It was 4.2% to be exact, but you're so right. And then even with the Nakamoto upgrade, I think Stacks is at 0.3% right now, but I'm sure that that's primed to grow as well.
Totally. I think it's also interesting, kind of as we are in this place within the cycle where there's been announcements of, CBBTC by Coinbase, KBTC by Kraken. I feel like a lot of folks are kind of waking up to the fact that people are probably going to want fast and cheap Bitcoin transfers, just considering the amount of sort of stable coin adoption that we're seeing. I feel like naturally, a decentralized layer two Bitcoin token is going to also take off. So I feel like that's another thing that is really primed to kind of take some market fit, considering how much stablecoin adoption there is, and then also the number of players who are kind of waking up to the fact that, oh yeah, Bitcoin liquidity would be something great to tap into. And fortunately, we're operating within a space where we've been thinking about this for years and really thinking about what's the best design for this for Bitcoin to come to a layer two. And we have kind of a little bit more of the ethos of let's do this the Bitcoin way. Let's do it, in a fully decentralized manner. And yeah, so I'm really excited about that too. And I feel like there's a lot of potential in that regard as well.
We talked about ordinals and we talked about meme coins a little bit earlier, but I think in this report it was something like 34% of daily active users in all of crypto are participating in DeFi. I mean, can you imagine when the untapped potential of Bitcoin like gets introduced to DeFi, it's just going to take off, and I can't wait for that. It's going to be such a huge use case that people already enjoy on other chains, but will finally be able to unlock here.
Yeah, you're so right. And one thing that was also really highlighted is this concept of stablecoins and like how much product market fit that they've achieved. And I think that, you know, it just like really goes to show that there's just so many people around the world that like are using crypto in various ways. And yeah, I thought that that one was really, really interesting. Is there anything else that you guys wanted to, anything that you've noticed this week that you thought was really worth mentioning, that you wanted to chat about, something you're excited? Also, if anyone from the stage wants to come up, please feel free to request the mic. I'd be happy to hear from you guys as well.
I think we're in the midst of a lot of action right now, both when it comes to kind of the broader Bitcoin layers ecosystem. Can't say enough how excited we are for block 867867. I feel like it's going to be a huge moment for folks who are really excited about developments within the Bitcoin space and for all of the builders and also at Trust Machines in terms of the applications that we're able to bring to the forefront. I also think just in terms of some of these changes and also, the approach that we're taking at Trust Machines and then also that I'm seeing within the broader Stacks ecosystem is that, there are these big changes coming up, but they're also some of the most battle tested, launches that we're walking toward. And it's also something that we take pretty seriously at Trust Machines in terms of, doing audits, et cetera. So as we're launching DeFi protocols, yeah, I just am excited. I feel like there's a huge amount of opportunity. Yeah, I can't say it enough. I'm just really stoked to be here. And yeah, it's great to see y'all. It's nice to see folks who are listening in. We're still a small but growing community. Nice to see you, Maddie. And yeah, feel free to pop up here if you have any thoughts you want to share.
I think the only other thing I've been watching is we saw CBBTC, the wrapped Coinbase stuff, a couple months ago now, and yesterday we had the Kraken KBTC join the, you know, growing field of wrapped Bitcoin from centralized exchanges. Super interested to see how this plays out. Super interested to see the narratives that build around it, because I think for such mainstream centralized players to be getting into wrap Bitcoin, it's only going to introduce so many people to the idea that maybe they want to go one step further. Maybe they want to go and access the fully decentralized promise of Bitcoin. Now we're talking about going into stacks. We're talking about going into these DeFi projects that are coming up. So those things really excite me. As a marketer, I'm always excited about narratives and seeing how they shift. And I think these type of wrapped products are going to be the ones that shift a lot of everyday investors into wanting to get deeper into decentralized, like truly decentralized DeFi protocols.
Yeah, you're so right. We do have Abdul, did you want to come up and ask a question or share something? I'm trying to bring you up. There you go. Go ahead if you want to ask a question. Maybe not. Oh, well. All good. Okay, well, that kind of brings us to the end of the show. Jason and Gina, again, thank you so much for joining me up here. You guys, I always loved hearing from the both of you. You're both so knowledgeable, and you have great insights as to what's going on inside Trust Machines, but also within the space. Yeah, just bring a great perspective to the show. So thanks again to everyone for joining and listening in. Just a reminder, we have our Leather Lounge hosted on our Leather account every Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern. And then we also have our Good for Bitcoin show every Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern. I think my technical difficulties will continue on for the outro. So I'll say thank you. Have an amazing weekend. Thank you so much for joining. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you, Kate. Have a good weekend, everyone.
Thank you for listening. We record Good for Bitcoin live every Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on X. Please follow us at Trust Machines Co. if you would like to listen and engage with us live. Visit us at trustmachines.co for all the latest Bitcoin news. We'll see you next week.